Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Hello and welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. My name is Daniel Martinez-Stahl. We are on Season 8, Episode 9 with Kristi Slotemaker. Kristi is the second time with us. Welcome back, Kristi. I will let you introduce yourself and then we will go from there.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kristi, as Daniel just said. Introducing yourself is really weird, isn't it?
Do you want me to introduce you and then you can talk about yourself? How's that? Shall I do that?
It's weird to talk about yourself, but yeah, sure, you can. You know what? Let's talk about how we met.
Yeah? All right.
That's cool. How did we meet, Daniel? We met because we met and we've hung out. Daniel and I hang out.
What Kristi isn't sharing with you guys is that she reached out, she pinged me and she said, hey, yeah. I'm getting nudged to connect to you for some reason. I want to channel for you. And I wrote back and said, great. I always love being channeled to. And I had a wonderful experience with what refers to themselves as the Boo Suite.
Yeah.
Which is the Body of One Suite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had a wonderful experience with them in that chat. And Kristi and I have continued our chats since then, which has been a really lovely part of my day-to-day life. And so it's an honor to have Kristi here. Kristi is not going to introduce herself, so let me talk to you about her. Kristi was a former cheese making teacher.
Oh, you're so good. Yes.
I know, right?
Thanks for remembering that.
I know, right? And before that, she was in the corporate world playing with Sephora.
Ooh. Yeah, right? Yeah. Right? Mostly beauty and spa and watches and retail, just retail.
And from kind of like a spiritual development side of things, I'll let her talk to you about that aspect of herself.
You know, thanks, Daniel. Thanks. You know, and I just love playing with Daniel. Daniel and I have a lot of fun when we get together. And we almost get together. Well, I would say we get together every other week and just chat-ish. Spiritually, yeah. You know what? I would love to. I'm excited to talk to you all about this today because I'm really, really curious. There is a massive change going on around the world. And it's amazing. And it's amazing to be a part of it. And you're all here as a part of it. So for me, my spiritual journey, I think it began as a child. And I would just be curious, if you want to drop in the chat, as a child, how many of you experienced things that you couldn't explain or you didn't know they weren't normal until an adult or one of your friends told you that it wasn't something that they did? I'm just curious how many of you have had that experience.
And for what it's worth, I am not one of them.
Right. You know what? I wanted to highlight that. I think that's really important.
So don't feel like you're out of this if you weren't, because I was not one of them.
No. And Daniel and I have had this conversation. So this is kind of where I want to start it is, I had a lot of things happening to me as a child, and my brother too. I think my brother's very gifted. He just isn't aware of his gifts. I would hear voices. Thanks, Pamela. Yeah, right. You could really relate to that. I would hear voices in my head. I would be playing outside and I would hear a ringing in my ears and I would be, I guess, asked to go pray for someone. And then after I was done praying, I'd be like, hey, you know what? And I'd go talk to my folks I'd be like, hey, can we go buy someone a card because they're having a rough time? And this is probably before, Cheryl. Yes. Oh, hi, Cheryl. So good to see you again. Music playing, that's a big one. People talking. And then as I grew older, uh, I was doing a ton of automatic writing. I didn't even know what it was. So my spiritual journey has always been a spiritual journey. I've always been aware, but I haven't always been aware of spirit being a part of that journey in a very direct way. Oh, thank you, Madhu. Yes, you resonate with that as well. Um, and so when I started automatic writing every day, hours and hours a day, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was automatic writing. And I did it for almost 2 years. And then my mom passed, my mom transitioned, and I was asking for a teacher, and all this stuff kind of converged. And I was introduced to Sarah Landon, who had channels the council. And she said, all of us are channels. And I said, what are we really? And then there's a channeling course. And let me just tell you, I bought the channeling course for like $100. Like, it's on her website. It's cool. It helps you. And they talk a lot on that channel. Like, there's a lot of talking. It's an interview between her and Mike Dooley. And I'm like, nobody got time for this. I don't have time for this talking. So I just went upstairs and started channeling. And that is how my channeling journey began. I thought that channeling had to be verbal. And I'm here to tell you there are so many ways that we channel. And that's really what I'm interested in learning from you today, learning from your experiences, talking about it and opening our minds. And like Daniel said, he did not experience, we've had this conversation. When you think about your spiritual journey, Daniel, what has it been like as far as experiences that
So,
led you as an adult now? Because
so,
as a
so,
kid, I was aware.
so
Yeah,
thank you for
go ahead.
asking. I was gonna
Mhm.
add it anyway, but thank you for the invitation.
Well, you're
Um,
welcome. It is your show.
it's actually, this is your show. I'm just here as the host of your
Oh, okay.
show. So, um, okay. So for me, it's actually a little bit different because when I'm asked, when did I start on my spiritual journey? I've always been spiritual.
Hmm, hmm.
I've always had a very, very strong connection with the spiritual aspect of myself. Though I've never had any experiences of listening to voices or seeing friends or, playing with imaginary friends that aren't really imaginary. We just are told that they're imaginary. I didn't have any of those experiences. I've never seen ghosts. I've never heard ghosts speak to me. I haven't had any of these experiences that others have, but I've always been very connected to the spiritual nature of who I am. And my life has always been very spiritually focused, so I've always loved all of the self-help spiritual books. I started reading all of the, kind of the new age books in my teens. That's what I that's
Oh,
what
did
I
you
read.
really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
interesting.
Deepak Chopra and Dan Millman
Yeah,
and
fascinating.
um uh Jonathan Livingston Seagull,
Ah.
Paolo Coelho. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
all of these authors were my teenage years, right?
Oh,
They
wow.
were they were in my childhood.
Mm.
Dan Millman's book didn't come out until I was a bit older, but um, you'll notice if you go to my new website when I launch it, you'll notice that I've added all of the books that have been meaningful to
Oh, I'm
me.
so excited. Yeah, that's awesome. I
And
love that.
so you can see the books that have stood out to me as being, worth mentioning. So I've always been interested in this, and it's always been a part of who I am, but I was never part of any kind of spiritual community or spiritual
Mm,
conversation or
hmm.
spiritual development until in 2020 when I got involved in getting certified for past life regression. I studied
Oh, so
hypnotherapy.
2020 was when you really gotten into a community at that point.
Well, I kind of. I mean, yes and no, because I started studying hypnotherapy in London starting 2007.
First of all, can I just tell you how fancy that sounds? I started hypnotherapy training in
Hypnotherapy training.
London. That's so
And
cool.
so I was in London and I studied hypnotherapy, and that was a
Uh-huh.
community, and that was an incredible experience of deepening my understanding of language, deepening my understanding of the power
Mm.
of imagination, the power of using our relationship between our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. And then I went into what's referred to as New Code NLP, which is an
Mm.
explicit conversation with the unconscious. So as a change worker, I'm not speaking to
Mm.
Kristi. I'm not working with Kristi. I'm speaking to Kristi's unconscious, and I'm working with Kristi's unconscious. Kristi just has the impression that I'm working with her, but I'm not. I'm actually going beyond her and to her unconscious. And so a lot of the work is really playing at that unconscious level. That was another community, and that was going deeper into this aspect of who we are beyond our conscious self.
Mhm.
Then in 2013, I got introduced to the Three Principles, which is a very spiritual community, though they don't focus on the spiritual nature of the conversation.
Mm.
The Three Principles community is focused around, many of the people in the community are focused a lot around the psychology of humanity and how
Mhm.
the psychology of humanity is the same as the spirituality of humanity, but the focus is on the psychology of humanity. And so that was a very spiritually based conversation. So
Mm.
much so that when I read Abraham Hicks's book for the first time, Ask and It Is Given, 50% of that book could have been part of the Three Principles conversation.
Oh, interesting.
The parallels are uncanny between the messaging from Abraham Hicks and the messaging that Sydney Banks has described in his experience of how life is created and how we create experience of life. And so that was a very strong spiritually led community, though it isn't spiritual in the sense of, you know, what we're doing now.
Mhm.
Then in 2020, I went back to my original intent of studying hypnotherapy, which was to play with past lives and play with this alternate experience of lives. And that introduced me to two different channels, Shannon Johnson and Anna Maria Vasquez, who are also speakers on the podcast, on the
Oh, yeah.
show.
Mhm.
And my relationship with them led me to wanting to learn how to channel, which led me to Jamie Butler
Mm.
and Sarah Landon, and everything from there has been really kind of escalating and growing. But to say that I awakened in 2020 isn't accurate.
No, it's not accurate.
You
Right,
know,
you've always been.
I've always just been me the entire time. But in 2020, I started
Mm.
focusing on that aspect of me. And
I
so
see.
that is a difference and a changing point, is that I started focusing on that aspect of my experience very actively, um, very intently. Um, but I didn't awaken in 2020. I have grown tremendously since then. I've learned
Mhm.
a tremendous amount, because I've been looking in this direction since then, pretty focused. But I didn't have any kind of awakening experience where I met God, like the people say. Like my
Yeah,
aunt would say, "When was the day that you found God? Because you will know when you find God." I've always known God. From the day I was born, I knew God.
right, right.
I've never not known God. So
Yeah,
how can I
that's
have a
beautiful.
moment where I found him? Because it's never been apart from me.
Right, right. That's beautiful. I
So
think that's so thank you for sharing that, Daniel. I think it's really important, to understand that we're all on this journey, and that I think I am curious, and you guys drop it in the chat because I'm curious, why are you here today? What is it about channeling that has drawn you to this particular show? Well, I would call it a show because it's fun. Um, but has drawn you to the show, has drawn you to channeling. What is it? Why are you here today? Because I am really, how many of you are channels? How many of you wish you could channel? How many of you are a channel? And I'm just curious. And while those answers come in, that is the thing that I have come to realize. I am just curious. Cheryl, you're a channel girl. You're a channel. I love it. Yeah. Cheryl's a channel, right? I always have been looking to learn more. Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh, wow. That's a big one. Okay. So, and I pronounce, can you tell me pronounce some of these names? So, is it
It's Marge. It's short for Margaret,
March?
and C is the last name, so it's Marge.
Yes, but Madhu, what about Madhu?
Madhu,
Madhu? If
Madhu.
I'm pronouncing your name wrong, that was a huge one. Yes, I channel. Ooh, let me go back to that chat really quick.
Sally, you're so funny.
Yes, I channel him here because I don't believe it. Thank
Sally's
you,
part of
Sally.
my
Super
Sally's part of,
helpful.
for what it's worth, Sally's part of my channeling practice group. And she's the one that's saying
So
that she's
funny.
here because she doesn't believe in it.
Oh, Cheryl, I know I am, but it's just figuring out what it is and putting a name to it. And Madhu, like this is the big one. I feel like I can channel, but I feel like a fraud. Oh, thank you so much, Madhu. Appreciate it.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah, right.
So
You
I
know,
wouldn't
and
say fraud.
okay,
For me,
I
I
think that
wouldn't say, yeah, I
what would you
wouldn't
say?
say fraud. And this is, I'm bringing this up, Madhu, because it's a nice invitation for you to shift the perspective on it, right? I'm in the process of learning the authenticity of the message that's coming through without me doubting it. But
Ooh, that's a big
I've
one.
never thought of myself as a fraud. But I have thought, I could easily just be making this up because this is my consciousness is very much involved and
Hmm.
has been
Hmm.
involved. And so, I'll share things in my practice group and afterwards I'm like, guys, take it with a grain of salt because I think I was very much part of that answer.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then Casey, I just wanted to acknowledge I like to learn and I want to learn to channel.
So
And I think imposter syndrome, and I'm just going to use that term because the fraud part, I get it. It's like, is it real? Is what is happening to me real? Because even in Harry Potter, they say it is not good to hear voices, even in the wizarding world, to hear voices. And so when we are hearing voices or seeing things that other people can't see or understanding things that are beyond the concept of what we believe we can understand and we don't know, we're channeling. But we don't, it doesn't feel real. How many of you, I would just like to explore this really quick. Um, right. Yeah, English isn't my first language. Madhu, you were expressing exactly what many people experienced, I think, when we experience the unseen. And I would like to give it just a name for this conversation. I don't like labels because I think labels kind of stick us in a box and we can't get out. But I want to use a term, a mystic. I consider myself a mystic. I'm a person who really has always loved the unseen, always loved the unexplained, and it has always been a draw for me. And yet, how many of you have a struggle when you go to talk to someone about something that you experienced that is outside of this? You experience and it feels like it's outside of this realm. I feel like, and you could drop that in the chat. I think that is part of this because it isn't something that we talk about. Even when I talk to Daniel, how many times have we've talked, and I'm like kind of just hesitant. I don't know the words, especially when we're talking about big concepts. Language is really important.
before we go any further,
Oh no, here I go.
I would like to ask you to answer your own question.
What was my question?
Why are you here? Why are you interested in channeling?
Oh, I am here because every one of us is a channel, period. End of story. All of us. Now, I know that I'm imagining, Daniel, I haven't seen the entire lineup in person, but most of the channelers that are here on your show are verbal channelers. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yes, the majority are. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
in
yeah,
different
Cheryl's like,
ways, right? In
okay.
different ways. So some of them are trance channelers, and some of them are more conscious channelers. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
are, and so there's different aspects of verbal channeling, but the majority of the people that I invite are verbal channels, given that this is a video slash audio platform. It's a little bit
Correct.
hard to kind of do some of the others, though I did have an art channeler last season, which was
Mm,
amazing.
that's
Um,
incredible.
but
Yeah,
yes, most of them are verbal channels.
most of them. And I want to make sure that everyone understands to be a channel. It's just doing what brings you joy. It's doing what comes naturally to you. And what it's just who you are. I I don't know of anyone, even at their highest or their lowest, who isn't a channel, because we all are source and we all are channeling source. And so here, Cheryl says, me, and hear voices as you speak, trying to get me to pay attention. So Cheryl's hearing voices that are trying to get her to pay attention. And then, who is this? I can't scroll up really well, but someone just said, I'm not sure if the voices in my head are really from like my partner or my grandma or my dad or what. So, where are they coming from? And Sally, I feel really excited that as I was a complete and total non-believer for 46 years, hello, welcome to the awareness and awakening, Sally. Um, I know exactly what they were thinking. If they were like me, I think I've unconsciously channeled with my job. Sally, 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 boom, right there. I just seem to know things, and I'm not even sure why. And Pamela said here, my channeling started years ago with scribbling messages, mostly in poetic form. Right, Pamela? There's a lot of poets out there, isn't there? Right? Um, and things are changing for me a lot more as the energy's coming through. And things just pop out of my mouth that come through as channel. We are all channels. Pam's like saying, yeah, something. So this is where I'd like to start our conversation today, because I am curious. This is very interesting to me. So last year when I started channeling, probably I did my first channel ever, verbal channel. Or, okay, let me just say it this way. I was first aware that I was channeling, um, probably May of last year. And it was very exciting. It was very easy. And yet I needed to, I wanted to work with spirit more. And I did a lot of verbal channeling for others. And then I took a break, and then just learned to love myself and learned how much to love the process of what I really enjoy. Verbal channeling, I enjoy. I and way more enjoy visualization and automatic writing. Those are my jams. Um, and so that is really the only message I have, is really you are a channel, and to believe in what is coming to you. When things come to you and you feel like Sally at work, all of a sudden she knows something. I worked in sales for a long time, so things would just pop out of my mouth. I didn't even know. I'm like, wow, how did I know that? And I would look at my employees and I'd be like, huh, you guys can just say stuff like that, right? Like I thought for a long time people could just pop things out of their mouth like I could. Um, but not everyone can. But art is another way. I just also my husband's, many of us have partners, I think, who may not fully understand what we're experiencing. And my husband is on his journey, and it's so fascinating. He's a channel too. He is an artist, and he just isn't aware of how much he is a channel. He talks to me about how when he watches things on YouTube, he actually can go and imagine that those are his hands building things on YouTube. That's a channel. So, why is channeling important to you? why is channeling important to you? Why is it important to me? Why is it important to you? Let me ask you, Daniel, why is channeling important to you? You're putting on a whole summit.
A friend of mine does not understand why I am so interested in channeling and learning to channel. And the
Mm,
way that I described it to him was very simple. Channeling for me is a mirror of my connection with myself.
mm,
The more that I get to know who I am as an energetic being within this beautiful human body, the more I am able to connect with the totality of who I am. And channeling is a reflection of that understanding and that connection.
mm. That is a really cool answer. My answer is really simple. I just really like it. But actually now I know it is my joy. I enjoy hanging out. Now, there's merits to exactly what Daniel is saying. Um, because yes, being a channel, because we all are channels, however you're channeling, um, it's a form of play. It's a form of spiritual play. And Daniel, he likes to play in the intellectual realm, I would have to say. Is that an accurate assumption, Daniel? Or did he freeze? Oh, I love these
I
answers. While you're thinking of your answer, just really quick, Cheryl's like, I don't know why I want to channel. Why am I interested? I'm not sure. I like that. Thank you for being honest, Cheryl. That cracks me up. But there's something about it, right? Oh, Marge, confirmation. Confirmation. That's interesting. We'll talk about that. Um, Sally's like, it's not important. It's just become one of my hobbies, and I love it. See, this play keeps on coming up. Makes my heart sing, Pamela. You're writing poetry, you're singing. And thank you, Sally. Touche. So, Daniel, what? So, we were just talking about how Daniel really does it to connect with himself. Is that?
I don't
I'm
do
sure
it
there's
to
a better,
I
there's
don't
a
do it
longer answer.
I don't do it to connect to myself, but I do
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that as I learn to channel, I learn about myself more profoundly, would be another way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the process of learning to channel is a process of learning about self, and self with a capital S, right? And so for me, there's a
Mm-hmm.
relationship between learning to channel and understanding who I am, who I truly am, the God source in me, the all that I am energy of me, the, dot, dot, dot of me. It's that, it's that aspect, the council beautifully, a while ago, and they haven't said it since then, but it's for me, it's one of these quintessential moments was when they said your relationship with everything else is a reflection of your relationship with source.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my relationship with channeling is a reflection of my relationship with my bigger S self. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
about an internal process of understanding how does the system, I love how systems work. I want to understand how things work. And so I want to understand how channeling works. I want to understand how I go through the process of channeling, right? And so to answer your question about my intellect, I relate to life through a analytical process. And so my intellect is a big part of how I interact and I understand and I reflect and I respond to and I interpret,
Mm-hmm.
so just like I think I was talking to you about this the other day, in the NLP world, we start to learn about I modality, the references that we have for accessing memory. Some people access
Mm-hmm.
memory through the visual. So they'll look up the eye accessing cues. They're referred to as eye
Mm-hmm.
accessing
Mm-hmm.
cues. People will look up for the visual, or they will look down for the emotions. They will look over to
Mm-hmm.
the left for process, structure, analysis. So there are eye accessing cues that reference how we process in the brain. Some people are very much feeling based. Their relationship with life is based through is in relation to how they feel. So they're called kinesthetic, both feeling from emotion, but also feeling physically, right? They touch, they sense, they perceive physically. And there's some people who visualize very easily. And some people, and I am one of them in what I'm about to say, will need one to access the other. So before they go to emotion, they first go to visual to then go to emotion. Or in order to get the visual, they first go to feeling to then go to the visual. And so because they are so strong in one, they utilize that as a gateway to get into the others. And now for me, with this idea of the heart space versus the head space, I use my head to get into my heart. And I use my heart to understand my head. And so I cannot be one without the other. And so when people ask me, how does that feel for you? What's the first thing I do is I start to feel into and I start to describe analytically what I'm feeling. And they're like, no, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you what you're feeling. I'm saying, I'm trying to answer your question. And so for me, it's really this aspect of the blend and the process of intellect and heart.
Beautiful.
And so for me, it's a synchronization and a unity between the two, where I cannot separate one from the other. I cannot be in my heart without my head. Though I can be in my head with the perception of not being in my heart, for me to be in my heart, because of the way that my human is built, my DNA was literally created to emphasize the analytical aspect of my experience. And so the way that I interact with life has been put into my DNA to be my blueprint.
Wow. Thank you for that, Daniel. I think that's so helpful because I love that in channeling, and you can do it by a raise of hands. How many of you are experiencing it like from your heart, from the feelings that are in you? Like it's a very, and we talk about, I hear a lot of people talking about this from the heart side, the feeling side. And when Daniel and I started playing together, I would always ask it, go from your head into your heart. And he's like, I can't do that. That's not how Daniel talks. I just said it like that. But it was a thing for me to learn as I was starting to play with others that we all access this part of ourselves differently. In fact, my husband and I were having a conversation today, and I'm like, it's just so easy. It's just so easy. And he's like, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted how easy it is for you. And it is, and I want to say it is only easy for me because I use it as a source of play. I use it as a source of play for spirit. I wake up in the middle of the night. I don't know. I am a woman of a certain age. As a woman of a certain age, there might be things called hot flashes that wake you up in the middle of the night. And it's really hard to go back to sleep. I've never really been a great through the night sleeper. I've always woken up at 2 a.m. and I'll be awake from 2 to 5, and then I'll take a nap, and then wake up at 7. And that time for me now has become the time for me to play with spirit. And it has been really exciting. How many of you know what's your portal? What's your way to access spirit? Which is yourself. I would like to clarify one thing. When channeling, this is something I really was learning and understanding, was I really felt that when you see someone channel, it feels like there's this other entity standing somewhere in the cosmos, and they're the one who's sort of channeling. But in my experience, this is just my experience is that we're all one. I can't differentiate. And Daniel and I have had this conversation. I can't differentiate for me, um, like someone I'm specifically channeling. Some of you mentioned in the chat, you are hearing voices from maybe someone very specific, someone you love, someone who is close to you, like a partner, a parent. Um, and oh, that's interesting. Sally has no idea how they access me. Oh, someone's knocking on your door. Yes, that's beautiful. And this is the sense of play. They're coming to you. I had a friend who really, really, really loves elementals and ghosts. And that he was going through his spiritual awareness, he was already spiritually awake, just aware of things occurring. Spirit was playing with him in the way that he preferred, which is through noises and knocks and things flying across the room. And it's a really fascinating thing. Okay, so Madhua relates. They access you, Madhu. Ooh, this is so interesting. And for me, it feels as a knowing, as a gnosis. This is a word that I should know, but I do not know this word, Pamela. I'm so sorry.
I
Can
just
you
looked it
explain
up.
that? Oh,
I just
Daniel.
looked it up.
Oh, thank you.
It's a
Pam.
it's a Greek-based word that means knowing.
Got it. I love it. Okay.
So
Okay.
gnosis is a feminine Greek noun which means knowledge or awareness. It is often used for personal knowledge compared with intellectual knowledge. So
Beautiful.
it's
Thank you.
the claircognizant, as we refer to it, which is the clair-knowing.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Oh, the Claire. Got it. Yes. For me, I've tried to stay away from all vocabulary surrounding this, like all the Claires, because I was afraid that I would get stuck in a box. And so and when I first started, now I'm just like, oh, all of it's available to us. It's so amazing. When you, and this is going to go back to our original question in talking about how you sometimes just feel like you don't know where it's coming from, or you feel like an imposter or a fraud. And yes, we can reframe that. And I want to know, tell me how you feel when, or how you, Daniel, what would you say? What are you experiencing? I want to, first of all, I'm going to talk to my feelers. What are you feeling? And if you are someone who accesses things differently, how are you experiencing it when you are in the knowing, or when people are or spirits are accessing you? What's going on for you? What's it feel like? For me, it's incredible. I'm trying to think of how to even, I feel there is a connection. Altered brainwave state. Ooh, that's interesting, Kelly. Thank you. I feel in the flow, Madhu says. Things just come out. Yes, if that makes sense, it totally makes sense. You feel in the flow. Cheryl, when someone's knocking at your door, you hear music, you hear people. What are you feeling? Daniel, what do you experience? Because you have a different take on it.
So because for me to feel things is a little bit harder in the
Mm-hmm.
traditional way that people refer to feelings, what I listen for, feel for, is a perception of a different vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using the word perception because it's not a feeling of a different vibration, it's a perception of a different vibration. When I connect what I feel for, using the word feeling, is within my awareness. I go into my awareness and I feel within my awareness, what am I perceiving within my awareness? Can I perceive an energy that isn't mine?
Mm.
And so the feeling isn't it's less of a feeling, and it's just a language thing because people understand what that word is. but it's more of a perception. I'm perceiving the vibrational signature of an energy. And this relates back to a question or a comment that somebody made earlier. See if I can find it quickly.
While you're looking at it,
anyway,
Sally says, when it's a knowing, I can only recognize it in retrospect. That's interesting. And that I'm in a different state. That's fascinating. And I can't explain it. Marge says, I can always feel like it's coming from somewhere else. Kind of like what Daniel was saying. I always think, oh, that's neat. Where'd that come from? Right? That is true. So, and when it's coming to you, with you, through you, it's flowing. What does it? Are you happy? What is it that you're experiencing inside your soul? What are you experiencing? Because I can see that there's this process that we're kind of going through, right? And actually, you know what, for me, this is a very big learning session too. I'm super curious on how all of us who experience things and are aware that we're experiencing them, how we can help each other and how we can become more connected with ourselves and recognize that it's not going to be the same for all of us because it's so different. Pam says synchronicities and serendipities. Oh my gosh, do you not love those, y'all? I love those. I'm a big number person. I mean, I'm not into numerology. That's a lot. We talked about math before the call, and I love numbers. I do love numbers a lot. And when I look up in the morning, first thing I look up is we have the projection on the ceiling of the time and the weather. And I always look for my synchronicities in the morning, first thing. And also Pamela says connection. She feels that connection. Almost euphoric. Yes, the euphoric. So true. That's what Kelly says. Elation. Carol. Thanks, Carol. Hi, Carol. If they are initiating, depending on who it is, I like that. If you guys read the chat, I love the they and the who and who are we talking to, and the language is so hard because it's like, who are these people? And I sent. Oh my gosh, Carol, I love when scents come in. That's a trip, isn't it? And so she's smelling things and a knowing, and there's a knowing and a nudge, and just doing some grounding, and always this feeling of love and being surrounded and permeated by acceptance and love. And Cheryl says she feels so happy just being able to give a message to someone else and connect with people who are not really gone. They are not really gone. That is so true. The who is also me. Good job, Carol, right? Yeah. And Sally says, I don't feel any emotions as my emotions are theirs. Ooh, fascinating. What's coming through right now is something that is so fascinating. At the beginning of our conversation today, it was really about, I don't know what's going on. Is it real? I know it's real, but can I really trust it? Is it? And then this, who are they and where are they coming from? Where's all this information? And yet we feel so connected and so happy, elated, euphoric, curious. Daniel experiences, give me a word.
I thought you were going to tell me what I experienced.
No, I can't. I can't tell you what you experience. I don't know.
It's a hard one for me to answer, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
It's a really, really difficult one for me to narrow down into an answer that I can put into words. When it depends on the situation, right? Because I had an experience, and I mentioned this in another episode, where I had a friend of mine who gave me a call in London and said, I just came from a therapy session and I'm in pieces. Can you come help? And I went to her apartment and I sat with her for 2 or 3 hours. And I literally was in a place of high awareness where I just responded to what came to me to say.
Mhm.
And at the end, when I walked out of her apartment, I felt this incredible high because I was in that
Mm.
connection,
Mhm.
right? There was this connection that I felt
Mhm.
with this energy, this wisdom, this
Mhm.
awareness that was available to me in order to help her put her pieces back together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a very powerful experience for me, but I have never felt that level of connection in any of my channeling. And so it's different. In a different context, my experience of that connection is different. When I
Mhm.
channel actively, when I verbal channel, or when I write channel, it's very similar because what I do is, but anyway,
Mhm.
when I'm verbally channeling, I don't feel that level of connection that I did in that experience.
Mm.
Um,
It's important. That's
and
important.
so it's interesting because it is different in different contexts and in different circumstances for me.
It's fascinating. Sally, I just want to say it's really cool. Sally's just saying sometimes these feelings that come through for Sally are feelings that she's never felt before because they're not Sally's feelings. Um, Marge says, yes, excited, happy, and sometimes surprised. Unconditional love, Kelly says. Sally feels like I'm having a counseling session. I love that. Amen. 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 Like, do you know how much I access my peeps? Because I'm like, look, I'm having a rough time. Can we just have a conversation real quick? Because I'm a little confused or I'm feeling a little weird.
But
So,
let me
yeah.
let me just clarify for people that are listening. Her
Mm.
peeps are her spiritual team.
Oh, sorry.
Her peeps are not you and I and physical people in the world. Her peeps are her spiritual team.
Yes, that is, and that's the thing. I'm gonna hit with thank you for that. I want to hit with Carol real quick. The right words flowing, even when needed in daily life, it's happening more and more. And all that is coming through is so much more now. And that's it. The minute there's this duality, isn't there? Where we feel like we're weirdos. We feel like this isn't truth. We feel like we're making it up. We feel like we're not enough. We feel sometimes that we're not worthy. We feel like we're nuts. And that duality limits us because everything I'm seeing in this chat today, and as we're talking about it, it's feelings of connection, it's feelings of love, it's feelings of elation, it's feelings that come from inside of us, outside of us, through us. And why do we doubt them? Why? When you have that moment, Daniel, where you are able to be in such connection with your higher self, your friend's higher self, when I have had channeling sessions with some of my friends or people that I know, or sometimes people I don't even know, I will come away crying because it was such a beautiful session. Like, I don't know if it was good for them. It certainly was good for me. Um, and I don't like to call them sessions because it's communing. Daniel doesn't like this word. I don't know if you don't like this word. You don't know where it came from.
It's not
I
that I
call it
don't
communing.
it's not that I don't know it. I just don't use it, and I never heard anybody else refer to it. But I've heard other people refer to it since I heard you say it. Um, Communing with spirit.
Yeah, it's communing. You're building a relationship. You're building a relationship with yourself. Now, it sounds like I don't have the experiences that some of you have where others are like, hey, pay attention to me. We got some stuff to talk about, right? Um, I'm that's not my experience. It could be experience for me in the future. Um, and why do we doubt ourselves when what comes from it is so beautiful? And that beauty is us. We're denying ourselves our own beauty. We're denying ourselves trust. We're denying ourselves absolute pure love and being the best friend of source, and the source being us. And that for me, now that we know who we are and we're getting to know ourselves, we're getting to know ourselves in a whole different way. We're getting to know ourselves as infinitely beautiful, powerful beings. And one of the things I'm so jazzed about is I am coming to love myself and find myself worthy for the first time in my life. For the first time. First time. And it's through the channeling. It's through becoming the best friend of myself. In fact, we talk in our house now. Like, I am really proud of my future self for saving that ice cream in the freezer. Just small things like that, or I haven't really listened to a lot of other channels, to be frank. I really have absorbed the teachings of the council. And the council teaches all that you wish to be, you already are. And everything arrives for you before you even know it. And so just like that ice cream in the freezer, because I didn't eat the whole gallon that day, I'm proud of my higher self for reminding myself. Now, these are small things. But those are the things where now this is where the element of play comes in, where we can start to trust ourselves. When I walk my dog, I now go on long walks. I live in a very urban setting. I live 1 mile away from one of the biggest cities in Washington State. And so I am surrounded by freeways. And so walking my dog can be a little bit challenging. I don't like all the cars. She doesn't really behave really well, which is part of the problem. And now I listen to spirit. Now I listen to myself. When I go on walks, I just find what lights the way, and I let that define me. I let that define the path. Many times I'm retracing my path, but there's always something on that path that brings joy. When I go to the grocery store, I let spirit, now I'm always picking up meds for my husband. I let spirit tell me, go to the counter or go shop for pizza first. Where am I going to go first when I go into the grocery store? And inevitably, not always, but inevitably, something magical will happen. Either I'll get all my stuff and I'll get out in 2.5 seconds. Or one time I waited in the line for meds for like a really long time, like 30 minutes. And it was the most beautiful experience because I watched the man in the bakery hand out kids to cookies. How about cookies to kids? And that was my magical moment of the day. We expect, I think, that spirit, ourselves, my peeps, your peeps, our higher selves, the divine, whatever you want to label it, we expect really big things. We expect to just have things coming out, pouring out, channeling. We expect when we are in the depths of despair to be able to call on our higher selves. And yes, we can. And yes, you will get an answer. And yet it is playing with yourself every day, finding ways to play with spirit so that you can learn to trust yourself and experience that joy. And know that joy is coming from listening to spirit. I will, on my walks, stumble across ladybugs I mean, small stuff, right? It doesn't even matter because you're building a relationship for the first time with yourself, with your higher self, and you're building a relationship with the divine, the divine that you are, the source that you are. That's what you're doing. And you can do it in little ways. Playing, playing. How many of you, when in school, found that your learning happened when you were laughing? The things that you remember the most were happening when you were interested, when you were having fun, when it was at recess. That's when you can learn to trust the connection. Huh.
Can I
Yes, go.
go back to something you said earlier in the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing the things that come easy to us,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
recognizing the things that we take for granted that we believe
Mm-hmm.
are the same as everybody
Thank
else.
you. That is divine right there, Daniel, what you're talking. Go
There's an
ahead.
element here which I want to bring up because there's a lot of power in recognizing within yourself the things that come easy to you,
Yes.
not as a point of view or a perspective of taking them for granted, but in terms of recognizing that that is one of your skills, that is one of your beautiful powers, that is one of your gifts. I know a friend of mine who's on this call doesn't like the word gift, right? So I like using the word abilities.
Yeah.
Recognizing what is easy for you
Mm-hmm.
now that you know what to look for a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and really honoring that. One of the things that
Mm-hmm.
came from my sessions with the Boo Suite,
Mm-hmm.
one of my conversations with them was when they asked me, what are my gifts?
Oh, they asked
And
you? What'd you say?
this is the fun thing with Kristi, is that she remembers the conversation for like a day or two and then she forgets everything. And so so they asked me, one of the first conversations that we had, I think it was the second session we had, they asked
Uh-huh.
me, what are your gifts? And to be honest with you, I would say I don't have any.
Mm.
But given the context of the conversation, I kind of felt into, how the fuck do I answer that? It's like, how do I answer that? What are my gifts when I don't believe that I have them? And so I thought, and I said, my ability to think the way that I do.
Oh, I'm so glad you answered that way. Mm.
And I'm getting emotional because that was the first time.
Mm.
That was the first time that I actually honored the way that I think as a
Mm.
gift and as something that
Mm.
separates me from others.
Mm.
Because my entire life I've been told, don't use your head, go to your heart. Everything is in the heart.
Mhm.
Everything is in the heart. Feel the emotions. Connecting with spirit is emotional. It's not intellectual. I mean, the number of people that talk about that, for someone who lives the way that I do, who has a lot of self-judgment historically, it was a
Yeah.
very difficult path to be on, to subdue the judgment of, what am I doing wrong? I can't do it that
Mm.
way. It doesn't make sense for me to do it that way.
Mm.
And being asked the question, what are your gifts? And me answering, I don't
Mm.
know, but let me feel into how I can answer this and be honest. And so the invitation to you guys is,
Mm.
if spirit was asking you, what are your gifts? How would you answer them?
Mm. Daniel, that is
Because
so powerful.
the
Just so
more that you
powerful.
start to recognize what makes you you, and to
Mhm.
honor these nuances about your personality that aren't separating you from the masses in a negative way, they're separating you from the masses in an incredibly powerful way,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And so, one of the things that I've been learning through this journey of being a host on this podcast is the way that I interpret life reflects in the way that I ask questions, and it reflects in the way that I describe things to the listeners based on the conversation that I'm having with the person that I'm speaking with. That is the way my mind works. That is my relationship between intellect, analysis, and heart, and feeling, and connection, right? And so one of my gifts is the way my mind works. And so why would I want to shut that down to connect with spirit? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? And so,
Absolutely.
this is an invitation to you guys. This is a serious, serious
Yeah.
question, right? This is a
Yeah, it
serious, serious
is.
question. Reflect on the
Yeah.
question of, if I was put in a position where I'm being asked by source energy to genuinely reflect on and to answer with full integrity, what are my gifts? How would you answer that?
Mm. Oh, beautiful.
Because what's going to come through, I will guarantee,
Mm.
will expand you beyond your understanding. As you start to honor that aspect of you that makes you different, that makes you special, that makes you unique.
Mm.
There is no one else on this planet that thinks the way I do, and there's no one else on this planet that thinks the way Kristi does, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? We are
Mm.
all so unique in our own expression of life that no one will ever be us, and no one has ever been us in the existence of infinity. Think about that.
Mm.
In the totality of everything that is infinite in this universe, there will never be another energy that will have the exact same perspective, same point of view, same energetic vibration that you have in this moment as yourself.
Mm.
And so honor that within
Yeah.
yourself.
You know what? 100%. It's 100%. I want to honor what Dee said as well. It's so amazing how human beings act like lobsters in a pot without intending to. In actuality, everything changes from moment to moment. There is really no such thing as repetition and sameness. We are all individuals, right? We need patience and trust to love and discover our own selves, whether you call it gifts or aspects. Thank you for that, Daniel. Thank you for that, Dee. It's so real. And I want to touch on a point that's really striking me right now. I think it's the way we connect with spirit is through the ways we probably people have told us we were too much of. For me, I was always too loud, too expressive, too excited to meet people. Like now I know I am the Walmart greeter to the universe. That is my job. I love every time I see a human being. One of my things that I ask all the time of myself. When I walk up to someone, I want to see the divine in them. I want to see it. And a answer that came back to me is you always have. When I worked in corporate environments, I was always told I was hired because I'm a charismatic individual, but I was always told I was too much. I was told I was too much since I was a child because I would get so excited meeting new people. And it's just because I'm meeting another person who is me, who is the divine, who has a beautiful soul. And I just get excited about it. And thank you for saying that because, Daniel, I think when we come into these spaces as, a spiritual space, we expect a lot out of it. We expect to be accepted for who we are. We expect it to be different than the world operates. And yet we put limitations on ourselves. We still take the old things, right? That from the stuff that we've learned from what we've been conditioned to believe about ourselves and the world, we still take them into this spiritual experience with us. And we can shed that now. We can shed that. And we can ask who we are and what are our gifts. And a lot of times they'll point to the places where there's been discord, if you will. Mark says, I'm an animal communicator, and I believed even before I practiced it that I was here for the animals. Oh my gosh. I just want to say really fast, I work at a zoo. I would love to talk to you about animal communication because it happens so much all the time. So she told people this was a gift, and now you're given back. That's beautiful. So you're an animal Reiki master. That's awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I want to highlight something that you invited us to question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to propose something which isn't necessarily an answer to the question for everybody, but it might help some people to find the answer to the question for themselves. And the question is, how do we connect with spirit? And whatever we refer to spirit, our higher selves, God, the energy of all that is, you know, nature, whatever, however you want to define that. I classify it all under spirit with a big S, just to simplify it. How do we connect with spirit? And my easy answer is we connect with spirit in the same way that we interact with life. So if you start to notice the way that you interact with the world, if you start to notice the relationship you have with your experiences, how is that being processed through your human? Is it an emotional process? Is it a visual process? Is it a kinesthetic process? How do you relate to the world around you more easily? And then you can lean into that as a gateway, because chances are that that is your easier reference point as a connection to spirit.
Beautiful.
And
That's a great way.
Having said this, okay, can
I just interrupt really quick? I just want to say Nelson showed up now.
I've never seen Nelson before.
No, you've seen Nelson. He sits on my lap and then he leaves, but this is Nelson. I just think it's funny. We're talking about animal communication and who shows up. My most talkative kid in the house. This is the guy he's my 9-year-old boy. He goes and gets all the other cats in the neighborhood and hangs out with them and brings them to the house. It's crazy. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. And he's always dirty. He's always filthy. Cannot figure out how a cat can be so filthy. I mean, he grooms himself, but he's always covered in dirt and dust because he's always crawling under things to find other cats to bring home. Sorry. So,
he's playing in the dirt.
Yeah.
He's grounding himself. He's playing with Gaia.
Oh my gosh. Daniel's here all week, folks. That was his big joke of the day. My cat's grounding himself. But yeah, it is the easiest way. That's the portal. That's the portal. It's the portal. Because
I'm aware of the time.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
I was only here till 3.
And I am happy to go longer if people are happy to go longer, because, you know, this is the last episode of the day. And so I don't have to worry about things. And my mom's sleeping right now, and she can sleep a little bit longer.
Oh, good.
And she can get up on her own if she wakes up before I'm done. So I'm happy to go longer, but I do want to kind of wrap this up to about 90 minutes. And then if we want to continue afterwards, we can continue afterwards.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel.
And what I would love to do in the last kind of 15 minutes or so is to bring in your peeps if you're willing to play with them.
Yeah. If anyone has a question, why don't we oh, how funny. Are there orbs? Oh, I love orbs. Thank you, Kelly. I see. You know, I love orbs. I see them as 1970s light fixtures. I did not know that's why I was always seeing 1970s light fixtures in my visions, but those are orbs. So there might be. Is anyone else seeing orbs? I mean, I do have Christmas lights. Ooh, Sally saw. Okay. Well, I love this.
Yeah, I was going to say, cool. they're called Christmas lights, for anybody that's wondering.
Well, I mean, there might be orbs, so it's just because we can't see them, right?
Yeah, those are called Christmas lights, people. Come on.
Kelly, Sally, you just go ahead and you just leave. Don't listen to Daniel.
Oh, they were flying right at the screen. They were flying right at the screen. So those are orbs.
Very cool.
One was a long stringy one.
Yes, the stringy one, I saw that. They came in front of you as well. So they weren't behind you, or they were in front of you. So
They're awesome,
like,
gorgeous.
yeah.
What are they?
I'm glad you
What?
said the stringy ones because that's confirmed what I saw. Because I thought, oh, that's weird because that's like a string. Normally, I'd see little round ones.
Yeah. They call them ribbons. So it flew right in front of you and it was
Yeah.
dancing in
Oh,
front of the screen. And then it
that's the
was
first time I've
another
ever
one
seen
was
that.
just a circular orb. Yeah. So cool.
Wait,
Yeah.
what do they mean? What do they mean, y'all? Or they
Oh,
just hang
they're
out? What are these?
spirits. They're spirits in the room with you, basically. They're showing themselves.
That's so, I'm so honored. Thank you for sharing that.
I didn't realise you got ribbon
Fascinating.
ones. That's the first time I've seen a ribbon one.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a lot of ribbons, but Kristi, you're bringing them in.
I also, thank you. I also live in a house that was built 1903. Are those some of the ribbons from, or the peeps in my house? I wonder.
Yeah, and they
I've
could
no
be
idea.
even they could be animals because we were talking about there's a bunch of animal communicators here, including myself. So we were calling in the animals too. But Daniel,
my
when you
gosh.
watch the replay, you'll see the ribbons.
Oh, I have yet to see any orbs ever.
Oh, you'll see them.
I
I think
appreciate
you'll.
I appreciate your vote of confidence, Kelly, but I can guarantee that I won't. Not yet.
I think you will, though. I think you will as well because it was really obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious to you
See,
guys.
okay. Can we
It's
just talk
obvious
about
to
this
you
for one
guys.
second?
That's my
Yes.
point. You know, I've got a friend of mine who says to me, "Oh, just talk to your team. It's really easy." I'm like, dude, seriously, not everybody has a connection with their team like you do.
It can become easy. It can become easy. Really quick. I know we're short on time. So what I would love to do is give whatever comes through. But if there's animal communicators on here, can we talk about animal communication after? Because working at a zoo, I've learned so much. I don't work at a zoo, I volunteer. But I would love to chat about that if that's okay with Daniel. If that's okay with you guys.
It's fine by me.
I mean, and then we could just all
So in terms of kind of like the session itself, right? We're going to go a little bit past the 90 minutes and we'll talk about Kristi and people that want to work with her. If you want to connect with her, how to do that.
Okay.
And then what I will do is I will keep the recording on because I'm sure we're going to have a pretty cool conversation afterwards and we will go with whatever happens. So this is just as a little thing. And so however long the boos want to chat, they're welcome to chat. However long they want, and we'll just go as long as they feel comfortable sharing what they want to share.
I will take questions unless there's I think I'll take questions. Would that be okay?
It's fine.
Okay, let me just kind of get in my.
Can I talk while you're doing that, or do you will
Oh
I
yeah,
interrupt
no,
you?
it's fine. I'm ready to go now whenever you're ready.
Okay. So the Boo Suite, they spell it SUITE, like the Microsoft suite of apps, right?
I love it when you say that.
And I was talking to Sally and my practice group actually about Kristi, and I mentioned the Boo Suite, and Sally said, "Is that like candy?" And I went, "Oh, I love that." So,
I do love that. And that was Sally who said that. Oh, Sally, that's awesome.
I think and so the Boo Suite for me now is SWEET. And so anyway, I refer to them affectionately as the Boos, like capital B, capital O, capital O, little S. So they're the Boos, if I refer to them that way. So one of the things that Kristi and I have been talking about is that she's learning more and more to recognize that there's no real distinction between her awareness and her consciousness and the Boo Suite. There's an alignment that's happened where there's no quote unquote separation between the two, but as they come in and as they start speaking, chances are that you will feel and sense a different energy than the one that Kristi presents herself with.
True.
So let me know when you're ready.
Well,
take your time.
We would like to welcome you. Say thank you. Thank you for coming home to you. This has been a really powerful and meaningful, purposeful, enchanting conversation. Before we take questions, we just really, really want you to know that you are the essence of pure love, that there is no separation, and that as we come together to answer questions, to talk, to laugh, that this persona that you are seeing now is all of you. It's all of you, all of your higher connectedness, all of your love coming through. And to trust yourselves. Trust yourselves. We are always here. We are always willing to connect. Open and allowing. Open and allowing is the field of connection. It isn't a lot of work. Some of us, some of you, some of we, us, you make it hard because we expect things. We expect things. We ask for things. We expect answers. We want comfort in the middle of our suffering. And in those moments, we are always there. Always trust the answers. And if it feels like you cannot get through, just sit. Just sit with us in pure love. And you will hear us. We welcome questions now.
So if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put a question in the chat and I'll read it out or invite you to unmute. So as a starting point, if I may, can you speak to us more about we are love?
Pure love. Pure love is the source of the universe that powers everything. How do you perceive pure love? How do you know you're in pure love? This is a question that you should always ask yourself. Pure love is the knowing. Pure love is the knowing. It is an ever-expanding experience. And for many, it's so foreign. It can be so challenging to experience it, to allow the experience of it, because of the feelings of separation, unworthiness, voices, dissension in your head, in your heart. And this is a place to explore. This is a place, love is a place to explore. pure love is the connection. In those moments when you may not be feeling pure love for yourself in that moment, know that there is pure love emanating around you, for you, through you, by you, because you are pure love. You would have no concept of pure love and the desire to explore pure love if it wasn't always in you. And so in those moments when you are unsure, you are trying to connect, you are having a rough day, know that you can look up with your mind's eye, you can reach out with your mind, you can feel with your heart that essence of pure love and know we are there. And that is always the answer. Did we answer your question?
Well, I'm still in the process of, you answered the question sufficiently enough for the moment. Yes.
For the moment.
For the moment. That's still my exploration, as you know. So there's a question here from Cheryl, which is, in simple terms, can you explain the phrase, quote, "you need to do the work," end quote? It always puts a block up for her.
Cheryl, would you mind coming on? You want to talk about this? Or I can answer it from here.
May not be in a, oh, there she is.
Sure. Okay, I'm here.
What does the work mean to you when you hear that? What does that mean to you?
It brings back, I don't like school. I like nothing about school. I never have. And so it brings back all of that. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Right. Who wants to work? What work are you being asked to do?
Oh, like in connecting, like, I have such a block on it right now that I can't even bring any of them up. But it's like I don't know, I've been told I have to do the
Can I
child.
jump in?
Yeah.
So in a lot of spiritual growth communities, there are people that will say things like, in order to reach that level, you need to put in the work.
Yeah.
In order to recognize your divinity, you have to do the work of healing. In order to transcend your traumas, you need to do the work of letting go. And so the idea of the work comes up a lot.
Well, we were specifically asking Cheryl, so thank you. And the work, Cheryl, understanding that Daniel provided a very excellent explanation. What work are you being specifically asked to do?
Shadow work, work to the inner child thing or the meditation thing in order to do this kind of work, or just everything. Everything always seems like you have to do the work. I don't want to do the work. I mean, I connect right now, so I'm trying to figure out what it is, and I feel like I'm being thrown backwards. And it's like, I'm already past that. I don't want to do that again. So I don't, and I don't even understand what that means, do the work. I don't understand what that means.
what is the goal of this work that you are supposed to do?
I could guess, but I don't know. I don't know.
How interesting.
I don't have any problems with doing stuff on my own. I just don't like being told that you have to do this work in order for that to work. I don't work that way. It's like, no.
You're being told to do the work that doesn't work for you.
Well,
right?
and that's why I'm like, do I really have to do the work? You know,
do you really have to do the work, Cheryl? Do you really have to do the work?
No, and thank you. That answered it right there. Thank you. No, I don't.
No. Before you leave, there are areas in your life that bring up concern. That is not work. That is you playing in the essence of pure love. That is you getting up in the morning and playing with spirit before the sun rises. That is you playing and enjoying and laughing and communing with and conversing with and connecting with you and pure love. That is not work. Does that feel like work?
No, and I do that all day long, and I have a great time, and I have great connections. And then when I talk to somebody, and well, you need to do the work, and I was like, well, I don't want that. Quit using that word. I guess it's just the word I have a problem with, or not just the word, but being told that I have to do it their way. I guess is what it is too.
Who is an authority over you?
Yeah, I don't like that at all. So
No, you are in authority over yourself. You are a free spirit. You have free will. You have always, Cheryl. Tell me a time in your life where you felt like you fit in.
Oh,
always.
I can't believe you just said that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Why now? Why start now? What a waste of time.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Make me try.
You're our maverick. Go play.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thank
you are
you.
loved. We are always here.
Anybody else
That's
have
beautiful.
anything they would like to ask?
This brings up a really important point. May we expound, and then we can, if there is another question, great. If there isn't. Shoulds, conditioning, things we're told, those things require examination at this point. As we enter into a whole different way of expansively living, existence now is really about unlearning the things that we've picked up along the way. That unlearning really leads down the path to pure love, really, because it puts you in connection with yourself. It puts you in touch with who you are. Today, when we were talking about all the ways you feel like we might be a fraud, an imposter, not really sure. Things that we have been told, you have been told to follow the rules. This is your permission slip to stop following the rules and make the game board for yourself. Play and have fun. If it feels heavy, stop. Stop. And look around and say, is this me? Is this for me? Because so many of you have said, people are tapping me on my shoulder, and by people, we know what we mean. The spirits that surround you, you know those voices are more real to you than the voices that come at you to tell you to do the work, the things that you should do, the things that you shouldn't do, the rules that you have to follow. Many of you are feeling it. See how it feels. See how your experience, understand with your mind how that feels differently. The truth of you will always come through. The truth of you and who you are and how you are to walk through this world comes to you. And that is what we are here to remind you of, your beautiful individual self. You are such beautiful creatures, such beautiful creations coming from your souls. You're creating all the time. That creation does not require rules that don't belong to you. No, no more. Now it's all about playing, having fun, and connecting. We love being with you. We are here. We are always here.
There don't appear to be any questions, so thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks. Wow, you guys, it's beautiful. Thank you. I love it's weird, you just take it for granted how much you can feel it when you feel everyone. There's just different levels of feeling for me. So thank you. That was awesome. I'll have to watch it later.
Are you are you with us enough to kind of talk about how people can connect with you and work with you and play with you and have fun with you?
Yeah. So just
do
all
the,
you gotta
do the work as it's stated.
Yeah, I do the work. I get it. Wow, that's so, love that. Great question. Yeah, what? Oh, so tell you where, like, how to get a hold of me. So if you would like to chat, I would love to chat. I have nothing formal. I just have my email. I have a website. I don't really like it, so we're not going to use that today. It has a really long name. So just Kristi Slot, I'll drop it in the chat. KristiSlot@gmail.com. I would love to chat with you for half an hour. I love learning about you, especially as we go through this journey together. And then I do longer communing. I'm more of a soul friend. I really define myself as a soul friend. or the Walmart greeter of the universe, whatever you prefer. Thank you. Oh, Mountain Mama. Hey, Mountain Mama. I love that name. Yes. It reminds me of John Denver.
So
Thank you very much.
before you continue,
Yeah.
for people that are not able to see the chat, it is Kristi, KristiSlote @gmail.com. And of course, you can access the information in the website. I've modified it so that it's not an active link so that the robots don't steal it as easily.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Which is the only reason I don't like having email addresses on the website, but some people
because
don't.
You're smart.
Some people don't have anything other than that, and so I end up modifying it so it's not an active link, but anyway, it's on the website.
Can I just say too, I think as a channel, so many of us want to serve. We want to serve. So I understand there's a lot of animal communicators, etc., on board. The rules of the world, to continue on our theme, that you have to have a website, that you have to have a social media. I am now taking a break from that to find out what the real rule is for me. So that's why I have an email. And not, because I just don't know, the light is not there for me for other modalities right now, or media or platforms to meet me. So that's just one of the rules I'm exploring.
Yeah,
for myself.
I've met very very successful coaches that built their business around the old traditional business card. They never had an office, they never had a website, they never had anything other than just a card to hand out to people that they met. That's all they ever invested in.
Yeah, that might be me. I'm really, having been in the corporate world for so long, I'm like, really, what am I shedding? And that was a great, Cheryl, thank you so much. That was you, right? That we talked to today? Oh, good. I'm excited, Cheryl. That was awesome. Thanks, bunches. Oh, thank you. You are free. You are free. Free, free, free. Free, free, free. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Wow. I had a great time. I love chatting and really getting to know and understand what we're, as a world, as a community, how things are changing for us spiritually. Do you guys realize that I think the statistic, now don't quote me, is about 60% of people who grew up with a religion or have had a religion in their adult life are now seeking other ways to commune with spirit. They have left organized religions, or they are finding organized religions that fit them. And this is a very special time for all of us. So it's very exciting to be with you. Thank you. So I'm really cold. I always get cold after channeling. Does that happen to anyone else? I get freezing cold after channeling, and usually my nose is running, or at least something.
The last
thank you, Pamela.
The last episode was with Susan, and she gets hot when she channels.
Oh, does she really?
Surprisingly hot. Like, she takes off all her clothes.
Oh, thank God. Because, I'm going to just tell you, I don't know, Susan must be younger, because there ain't nothing fun about being hot. Because at all. There ain't nothing fun about being hot. I'd rather be cold any day.
Anyway, so I will.
Thank you, Madhu.
I will officially end the call at this point.
Oh, okay.
And so, Kristi, thank you for being here. Thanks, you for playing
Daniel.
with us. Everybody that's been listening, thank you for joining us. And sorry for running late. I'm going to officially leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love. And then what I'm going to do is just ask for a moment of silence, which will allow me to separate the host from the current conversation, if we decide to do that, or if I'm just lazy and I keep it all in. And so for those of you that want to continue, feel free to stay on as long as you want. I can always leave it open, and I can walk away and do the things with my mom as necessary, because this will just be an open conversation for whoever wants to chat and hang out. So thank you guys for being here, and come join us tomorrow if you're interested and able to. We're going to have Olivier and Megan, beautiful couple that plays a lot with the energy of love, and have some incredible music that they're going to share with us. Oh, they channel music, not all just verbal channels. They also verbal channel, but they also channel music. Joanne Angel is going to talk about wellness, physical body, working out in a spiritual way type of stuff, which is what she specializes in. And then Margot Fraser. I have no idea what she's going to talk about, but she's a great person to listen to and play with. So, and that will be the last day of the season. So come and join us if you can. So I will leave you for now. Once again, being spirit, being human, simply being from love. Bye-bye. All right. And there we are. And so you guys
cool.
feel free to open up your microphones and chat and ask questions or whatever. So Kristi wanted to talk to you guys about animal communication. So go for it.
All right. I want to know. It's so fascinating being a volunteer at the zoo right now. I really thought I would walk into the zoo and be able to communicate with the animals, and I can, but I didn't realize. And this is what I was curious from you guys, your perspective. The keepers, scientists to the core, and yet they all communicate with the animals. And so I was just curious what your experiences were like and wanted to chat about that. So who wants? Carol, I see you're unmuted.
Oh,
You can stay. You can be unmuted. No, it's fine. I didn't know if anyone else wanted to say anything because I knew there were some animal communicators. If no one wants to talk about it, that's fine. I'm just curious. Marge? Okay. Kelly? Okay. Yeah.
I can go.
Yeah. Yeah, go.
Okay. I do volunteer at zoos and sanctuaries myself to work with the animals. And it's just a fascinating experience because I consider those animals to be the ambassadors for the species.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so what I do is I go and I'm an animal Reiki master teacher, as well as I think it was Marge that was. I hope I got that right. And so as well as an animal communicator. So I go and it's sort of it's very therapeutic for me. I do it to sort of give back and give back to them for their contribution, the animals' contribution, because of what I've experienced they have to go through just on a daily basis, especially the zoos with the amount of traffic and busloads of kids being dropped off, and oftentimes not pleasant things are said to the animals. It's really an interesting thing. So I tend to, my intention is to go there and do all the modalities and you know, give them what I can for their contribution. So sounds like that might make sense to you.
It does. Right now, I interpret for the animals, basically. You know, I'm just a volunteer. And two of the most fascinating animals in the zoo right now to me are the red wolves, which there's only 20 left in the wild, and the elephant, because it is the last elephant that will ever be in a zoo in Washington State. So once she passes and she's 60, and she is a unique creature, let me just tell you, she is spiritual all day long. And trust me, this elephant Suki, she breaks all the rules for everything. And so it's just fascinating to be with them and to see. So thank you, Kelly. As an ambassador for the animal, I think of that myself in that way too. Are there things so that I can do? And I mean, I really sit there and I'm very quiet and feel into their field. Are there things that I can do as I'm learning to express myself and experience animals in this way?
Yes, the best approach, or what I've really come to know, is the more mindful that I can be in their presence. Actually, it's so funny because they all know when I'm coming because I already send out the intention that I'm going to show up there that day, right? So they're all ready for me. Yes. So I'm already having that communication before I arrive. And the mindfulness, it's puts us all in the state where there's then a mutual respect that can take place, where that communication can be even finer. So the more that you can just clear out those thoughts and, you know, see what you can receive from them.
Okay.
It sounds like, you know, I just give love. I mean, I just give that unconditional love right back to them. And yeah, there's something about the mindfulness that was coming up for me to share with you.
Okay.
Because I think, do you get kind of busy in what's going on around you?
Well, I choose very early shifts, and I live in like Seattle, and it's rainy and cold, so no one goes to the zoo for shift. So I get to
good.
So it's not busy for me unless usually I get, you know, if I'm in the elephant barn, yeah, it gets busy. But thank you for that. Yeah, mindfulness. Okay.
The other thing that I was thinking here too that was coming up was just that letting them know your appreciation for that contribution.
Okay.
Because there's something about the acknowledgement of that, and I'm getting chills now. The acknowledgement of that they're there for such a specific purpose.
Correct.
And you know, the sanctuary animals a little different, wounded, you know, have to be there, whatever. But zoos, it's a little questionable. And even when I tell people I work with zoo animals, they kind of poo-poo that. But again, they're there, they're giving a gift. And so the more that we as humans can acknowledge that, I think makes a big difference for them. Yeah.
Got it. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. That's really helpful. And Cheryl, to answer your question, it's actually Point Defiance Zoo, which is in Tacoma, because I don't live in Seattle. Just people don't always know where Tacoma is. It's just a really small zoo. I mean, it's a great zoo, but it's a small zoo. Carol, you had your hand raised. Unmute yourself.
Okay. I concur exactly with what was just spoken. I work with cheetahs actually, and other animals here where I'm at. And one of the things that I learned, and it's difficult for me because I've had a real thing about animals in captivity, wild animals captivity. And a number of years ago, somebody opened my mind up a little bit to elephants in particular. This is an animal communicator who travels all over the world, and they do interesting things. And she was talking about, have you ever occurred to you that they actually incarnated to do exactly, they came exactly.
Thank you.
Where
that's what I feel. Yes.
Which is very interesting. And so it has really changed my point of view. It's still really hard for me a lot of times. So I know in particular, like when I go into an area with a lot of animals, same thing. I send my intention beforehand because we are so jarring. People can be so jarring. Like one of my cheetahs is, he doesn't have quote skin. He does now. We've been working really hard on this. Hi, handsome. And but that idea, and also to lower your energy, because as I say, we're so hard. Our energies are very hard for a lot of people, a lot of animals. So soften your energy. And it's the holding space for them a lot of time, and the acknowledgement. Exactly. I see you. I may not be able to change anything about your day-to-day existence, but I see you, I acknowledge you. And I'm getting incredible chills right now. But what I'm finding is that animals right now, especially right now, wild animals, I don't care if they're in a zoo or not, wild animals are unbelievably in touch with the divine, unbelievably in touch. And they are here to help the ascension process. So many of them, I know both of mine are, and the whole thing, they are also here about love. It's just fascinating. Absolutely. They're so infinitely much more than what we think they are. And they absolutely can connect with us, and we can connect with them. I'm really fortunate. I've got a really great teacher that I'm working with right now named Wendy Cooper, and it's just been phenomenal. But that whole thing about holding space, about the appreciation, about I see you, I thank you, I love you, and softening our energies, it's really important. But understand too that so many of them. I know one in particular who is here. She transmutes energy. And a lot of people come to a zoo, like you were saying, there's all these kids running around, there's all this, and there's so many people who have unhappinesses, and there's a lot of energies and frequencies that are not very nice. And one of the cheetahs, that's what she does. She transmutes energy. It's incredible.
Wow.
Incredible what she does. And yeah, so anyway, it's very, very cool. And domestic animals, same thing with the pets. There's so much going on right now. Those of us who are involved with animals, what's going on has never happened in history, ever. We have such a privilege, such an honor to be involved right now. So all of us who are communicating with animals, and anybody who's working with zoo animals or rescue animals, anything like that, do understand that it's way more than what we might think it is. Way more. So there's my speech. And I came into this in a completely different way, and I wanted to do I want to save cheetahs. I want to save cheetahs in the wild, and that's what it started out as, and it became something way more than that. And I know these particular cheetahs, they're like, yeah, whatever. This is where it's at. This is what needs to happen. So there we go.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Kelly. Wow. That is super. I come in, it's funny. I go into the zoo like really excited. So my energy probably needs to be softened a little bit. I mean, it's pretty much my personality too. I just need to soften it out. But when you said transmute, the elephant transmutes the energy at that zoo. Holy crap. That's what holy crap. Okay. That
one thing
blows my mind.
I want to add something about the energy.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. We have, like some of you know, I've got birds that fly next to my window underneath the bush cover. And we have a bird feeder in front of my mom's window, and she loves seeing the cardinals. She loves seeing the mourning doves, specifically. And so when they're there, she gets really excited. And they're on the floor, so they can't see anything. But a lot of times, as she walks into her bedroom, they will just take off. And I've started to remind her, soften your energy, quiet down before you approach them, before you approach the window. Because though they can't see you, you're scaring them away because the energy is so strong, and they're just like, something's going on. And so I keep on reminding her, slow down. And it isn't about physically slowing down. It's about slowing down the mind. It's about slowing down the intention. It's just about quieting down. And I've noticed that with my mom in the window, where the birds don't see her, but yet they still run away. How many times have I been looking at an animal that's next to my window, and I think to myself, wouldn't it be cool to take a picture? I grab my camera and they run off.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not going to get the picture taken. I had a beautiful squirrel that was hanging out of my window, and I was like, well, let me see if I can take the picture. And I even tried to do it really slowly, and I softened my energy and my intention, and it kind of sort of shifted a little bit. And I said, okay, maybe I can still catch you. And as I brought the camera up to actually take a picture, it jumped off. And so they know these things.
They do. They
know these things. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how connected they are to our intentions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reminder for me is, appreciate them when they're there and not feel like I have to take a picture, but it's nice to take a picture of them. I love seeing them. Yeah. I have these beautiful pictures of birds out my window, and the pictures aren't great, but for me, they're beautiful because they're a reminder of my experience here,
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. But slowing down the energy, slowing down the thought, slowing down the intention, just quieting it down. Noticeably different with the birds.
Yeah, you're a bird guy. 100%.
It's what I have in front of me. It's what I have in front of me. Right?
I sent Daniel pictures of my
I don't
animals.
leave my apartment. So what else am I going to see? Right?
We're gonna
I've
write
got
a
a
screenplay
squirrel that
about
comes to
you.
visit every once in a while. I've got a hawk that shows up every once in a while and it eats the little birds, which I tell it that it's not welcome here as much as I love to see it.
That's so funny.
I create a space where it's a space of sanctuary for the little birds. And so as much as I love to see the hawk, it's only allowed to come when there aren't any little birds around.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. That's really cool.
And
well, yes.
So anyway, I don't, there's been times when I go out to, there's a little park, call it a park. It's like, the size of a parking lot, small parking lot. But I go out to the park and drop off bird seed because the bird seeds that are on the floor, I put them in a bucket and I go dump them into the little woods that are in between the apartment complexes. And I almost every single time that I've gone out there, I've seen some animal in some way, shape, or form, have it be a fox or a rabbit or a deer, male deer with big antlers, or a female deer, or a hawk in one of the trees. I almost always see some reflection of nature letting me know, we see you, we're here.
That is another one we should have talked about today. Nature. Totally forgot about that. But glad you brought it up, Mr. Moderator. That's pretty awesome.
I'm going to step away for a moment. You guys keep on chatting.
Actually, I'm going to go too, but I want to thank, I know Marge left, but Carol, you have something to say before we go.
I just want to say one more thing with the animals. The thing that's really important, I think that many of us don't understand, is that so many of them have chosen to come in. They're not, we see, let's say we see cheetah, we see elephant. It's a soul. It's a being that chose that particular form to come in, and they've chosen that form for a particular reason, and we don't necessarily know what that is, but it's really important. I think most of us, especially with zoo animals, we look at them and we're just so impressed by whatever this is, and we see that, but take it deeper than that. It's much deeper than that, and you will gain much more from your interactions with them when you can see beyond the form. It's just like with us, see beyond the form. So thank you so much for
I love it. Thank you. That was great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Carol and Kelly. And if you talk to Marge left, but she had something to say, but I can't. She left. So, indeed. Oh, yeah. Oh, Dee says, if you're living in a city and create a safe space of what I call a no-kill zone, then all manners of birds and insects like bees, beautiful, will come to share messages. Yes. Oh my gosh, love it. Oh my God. Daniel, you need to find an animal communicator. You might have a few in your audience for the next iteration of channeling with love.
Every other season, Ana Maria Vasquez is on, and I've had others as well.
I love animal communication. Is just so freaking awesome. I just love it. I mean, it has changed my life. It has changed my life. It has changed my life in a really different way. And I think anyways, it's just another way to channel. Okay, I gotta pee. That is very personal, but thank you.
Excellent.
It was really lovely. Thanks you guys so much. I had a great time. Thank you. Okay. Bye, everyone.
All right, Sally. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Big hearts. Thanks, Sally. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.